Doesn't matter. Are you all here?
Yes.
Great. Nice to have you here, as always. And I know everyone, each and every one of you, and you have meant a lot to me. And this will be like a meta presentation. And what I mean by that is I will talk some of this presentation, what has happened until now. It has been a struggle just to have this presentation. It started with another presentation about AI and Stanley Kubrick. When I uploaded slides on the show, Gnostic Radio, even by Gnostic Radio, they became white, completely blank. And there was no reason for it. And it didn't matter what we did, the same result came about. And we managed to go around it. And the presentation was about androids, technology, and transhumanism. After that, all hell broke loose. I had another presentation that worked fine, and then I did this one on Friday. This presentation, I couldn't even upload this presentation on the show. I said no. This stuff, you are not allowed to show this stuff. And Miguel, who had the show, was a little bit offensive. Like, blamed me and the file and so on. But as a matter of fact, I felt a big, huge obstacle just to have this presentation. The reason why we have the sound from here and not from the cinema sound to the left and right of you is because the music, the sound system just broke down when I was supposed to do this presentation. I wanted to do a test run and suddenly it just didn't work. Broken, it had worked for 5 years, now it didn't work. Now you see, you can go around all these problems, but all these problems take so much energy from you and it drains you. So I contacted Laura Leon, and Laura Leon and I had a presentation, Atlantis and the Watchers in the Days of Noah. And I asked Laura, can we do this for real? Are you with me? It will be a 10-hour presentation. And I knew that she was the only one who would say, yes, let's do this. And she said, yes, let's do this. This was 2 months ago. And everybody loved that presentation. And that is like the prologue to this presentation. Now you may ask yourself, how can I understand what's going on in this presentation if I haven't seen the 9-hour presentation before? Atlantis and the Watchers in the Days of Noah. But you can. But of course, I highly recommend you to see the former presentation. And I can promise you there will be information in this presentation that you can take with you. We are all on different levels, but I will point to specific things in this presentation that you can deny it, but I will give you exact dates and so on. So take with you what you can. But according to me, this presentation I give you here today, I will tell you what has happened with the human race. I will tell you how we can get out of this mess. I can tell you who have manipulated the human race and why. And I'm done. I know I'm on the right track here. So what I'm going to present for you today is the truth. It doesn't mean that I'm right about every detail. No one will know every detail. It's impossible. But the overall picture I will give you on a plate and serve you here today. But you have to eat it and you have to take it in. And it's some dark information and some positive. For me, it is positive. And I promise you to give you a positive end of this because we will succeed. But it will take effort. So I will present to you why we end up in this mess. How we can get out, who are manipulating the human race. Take and understand and believe what you want. But I have come to this conclusion and I will always stick by it. Doesn't mean that I will be dogmatic and details can change and so on. But this is the big picture. Thank you. I will take you back 5561 BC. And one of the most important battles in human history. And of course, if you ask our scientists, this is a myth, of course. Because it cannot be. Because they have that glasses on, that this cannot be true. It's just myth, legend. But if you ask people in India, it's very real, very true. And my good friend Rohit have helped me with this Mahabharata epic to understand it. We also used an AI, very funny. And Rohit worked with the Indian government with computer questions. Therefore we know how to go around the limits of AI. And you will have the profound truth, and you can ask the AI certain questions and you get answers, real answers back. So in this battle, the Kurukshetra is a place in India that exists. So this battle happened in that area, Kurukshetra. 5561, and the reason why we have the date is because people in India have read the text of the Mahabharata. In the text it says how the planets and the stars was aligned in certain times, certain events, and then they have used a computer to trace it back. And they came with the date 5561 BC. The problem here is, of course, that this battle is epic in scale. It's a world-destroying event. In this battle you have Arjuna. Arjuna is beside Krishna, and Krishna is in chariot, his wagon. And he tried to compel Arjuna to fight this war against his relatives. It was a fight between family, it was a family feud, and it was millions of people. Not one, not 10, not 10,000, but millions. And in the Mahabharata epic, there are flying machines called vimanas. And according to the Indians, this is very real, so this flying machine really existed. The problem here is, of course, that this flying machine shouldn't exist, according to our scientists. There were no such technology back during that time. We were stupid. We haven't started any civilization, because they think the Sumer is the start of the civilization, 5000 BC. But this, according to the Indians, this is very real. And today I have a friend who worked for NASA. His father worked for NASA. And he's working to re-engineer these vimanas with the same technology they describe in the Mahabharata. So, this is Krishna speaking to Arjuna. He cannot remain inactive, because nature will compel him to act or not to act. All honor to him whose mind controls his senses, because he is thereby beginning to practice karma yoga, the path of right action. Do your duty as prescribed. He also does not help the revolving wheel of sacrifice, but instead leads a sinful life, rejoicing in the gratification of his senses. O Arjuna, he breathes in vain. What does Krishna try to tell Arjuna here? You cannot go to a gym and watch others do the lifting for you. You can do that, but you will not have any results, except some experience of senses. But you will not have the experience of doing the work yourself. People hate to do the work themselves, and they became passive. They hope for a savior, an alien race, or whatever they believe in will come and save them. And of course, that will never happen. And that's the point. In this world there is a twofold path, Krishna says. There is the path of wisdom for those who meditate, and the path of action for those who work. No man can refrain from activity by referring from action, nor can he reach perfection by refusing to act. Exactly my point. Lord Krishna gives the same message to the soldier Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Before the battle of Kurukshetra begins, during the discourse, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that the battle should be fought, not because it might be won or lost, but out of duty. If he wins, he will become a king on earth, and should he lose, he will become a king in heaven, because he has performed his duty. And his duty is to act. And this is, of course, exactly the opposite from the Christian message. The Christian message is that you should be passive and wait for your Savior. Wait for Jesus to come and save you. And of course, Jesus will never come and save you. And you die, and you have to come back, reincarnation after reincarnation, because you haven't done your duty. And your duty is to do the work. Not for another person, but for yourself. And Lord Elohim, Krishna died in 3102 BC. Meaning we have a date when Krishna died. How can we have a date when a god dies, you might ask. And that's, of course, the real question here. So, if the Battle of Kurukshetra was 5561 BC and Krishna died 3102 BC, well, you can do the counting yourself. He was at least 2500 years old when he died, but still he died. But he was probably closer to 3000 years old. Now, the question becomes, how can anyone become more than 3000 years old? And if you're a god, aren't you supposed to live forever? How can a god die? In the Bible it says, if you can read the Bible with the right eyes and the right understanding, it says, do not be under any illusion. It is true that you are Elohim, but you will die like all the Adams. How can gods die? Now, our history is of course manipulated, controlled. It's there to control us, to give us a false understanding of who we are. Because those who control our history, the narrative, controls you as long as you buy into it. You will not go anywhere in this lifetime as long as you believe in the narrative of our history. So, many people believe in Atlantis. Today we know that Atlantis existed. That's obvious. We have two epics in India. You have Ramayana and you have the Mahabharata. And Ramayana is probably about the end of Atlantis, among other things. The end of Atlantis was 10,000 BC. Mahabharata is about the battle. Bhagavad Gita is a book specific about the battle, Kurukshetra, and it was 5561 BC. Now we have a 4,400 years gap that we don't know anything about. It's a blank, nothing. Atlantis, at least we have some vague idea about Atlantis, but here we have nothing, absolutely nothing. 4,000 BC, they say that Sumeria started as farming, and they started to build cities, infrastructure. A little later, so what happened during this period of time? And if you ask anyone, they have no clue, no answers, no nothing. Even though this is the most important part of human history when you understand the truth. And that is, of course, exactly the reason why they don't want you to know it, understand it. So you have Atlantis, probably 12,500 years ago. You have a flood, you have the flood myth. But the flood myth is a recurring motif. You have many flood myths, many different floods. But there is some connections between these floods. And a flood means a lot of things. A flood doesn't only mean drowning. Flood is water, emotions, memory, science, nations, and language. So water means a lot of things. So for example, when they say the God wants to drown humanity in water, what they are saying here is not that God wanted to drown humanity in body, but God wanted to drown humanity in memory, in soul, in spirit. He wanted to wipe out the human spirit, the human spark that can animate you and transform you into something else, something more. If they take your spark, if you take your soul, you are stuck in matter. Not entirely, but for now, let's take that as a given. If they take your soul, you will be stuck in matter. This war is about your soul, your spark. If you don't believe you have a soul and a spark, they already have won, at least over you. Some believe in the pole shift. They claim that this event was a natural event. I claim it was caused by technology. Doesn't mean that the pole shift didn't happen, but the cause of the pole shift was because of technology. So it's a question of what created what. The chariot, all of us who live in Sweden know about Thor chariot. We know about Achilles. Achilles had a chariot in the War of Troy. You have Krishna's chariot. But what is the chariot? Really? The Golden Age, all of this happened over centuries when the hundreds of Adamites lived together in close contact with the Elohim. Just as the Greek myth described the famous Golden Age, when men and gods lived together. Some Adamites and the so-called gods lived and traveled together. The gods came down and united with women. The gods selected certain privileged people and treated them in a special way, and took them in their flying machines. A flying machine. If we trust these ancient authors and pretend that what they have told us is real, we will discover a period in the history of humanity when extraordinary things happened. Ezekiel, Elijah, and Zechariah tell of flying machines. Ezekiel in particular tell us of his travel with these flying machines. The Elohim lived long enough to be considered immortal, even though they were not. They were individuals who traveled on flying machines called Ruach, Kavod, Merkava, and Cherubim. And the word Cherubim, people think is an angel. A cherubim is supposed to be an angel. No, it's not. And all this confusion with the titles, gods, and objects is a mess. When you have sorted it out, you will see a complete different reading of the Bible. So sort out the language. Remember, water, memory, language, soul, spirit. When you discover the truth, and you discover who you are, you will also be devastated. You will have feelings, and water is feelings. But if you don't have feelings, you are gone. This is an emotional trip. Nothing is gained for free. The truth is full of tears, despair, also light. In the tarot deck, of course, we have card number 7, the chariot. And you see a knight with a crab on his helmet. This crab, the 6 and the 9, if you look at the sign for the crab, you see a 6 and a 9. Is the Graal, the Grail, Arthur. Because when you start to pierce the material world, go into the metaphysical, travel there, not for your flying machine, because you will never have a flying machine. They will never give this technology to you. So you can forget about the disclosure nonsense about that CIA become clean and so on. Forget that. I have a much better solution. You are the chariot, because you still have your soul, the spark within you. All the good things these people have lost. Therefore, they need their flying machines. They need their technology. You are the chariot. When you have understood that, and you start to use it, and go over to the other side, you will start to reprogram your blood, your DNA in your body, and you will start a new sang real, a new bloodline. Because when you come back, that will be programmed within your body, your chariot. And then you spread the information and knowledge to another family or another people. Come back, next life, and you will come together, because you will be drawn to each other, and you will start the work again and continue the work. Now you have created a sangreal, a chalice with water. It is a lot of talk about Aldebaran. And Aldebaran is a fixed star. In esoteric lore we talk about 15 fixed stars. There are more than 15, of course, but this is the Bohemian fixed stars, the 15 most important fixed stars. I'm going to talk about 3 of them here today, because that is enough. Let us focus on 3 of them. Here we have Aldebaran, the eye of the bull. In the description of Aldebaran, the eye of the bull, you might see God or flying man. What do they mean by that? Prominent shows great courage or great anger. That is important. You might remember Zeus, for example. Zeus, the so-called god in the Greek mythology, is always pissed off, right? And Liljehovah, pissed off, want to kill people, torture people, rape kids and so on. They're always angry. Why? Krishna tells Arjuna, if he wins, he will become a king on earth. And should he lose, he will become a king in heaven, because he has performed his duty. Meaning there is 2 methods, 2 choices. The path of wisdom and meditation, or the path of action and work. The path of wisdom and meditation, the goal is to end reincarnation and go back to heaven. And heaven is Pleiades, and Pleiades is guarded by Aldebaran, the bull star or the bull's eye, the eye of the bull. Tree of life. You will work with the tree of life, and you will work with Elohim. I will tell you why. Path of action and work is the aim becomes, with method, to reincarnate back with power, memory, blood, because you have started to do the work in the metaphysical. You don't want to end reincarnation, go back to heaven, but come back and continue the work. Now, if you don't want to come back with power, if you allow the gods, the Elohim, to wipe you clean, because you aim for heaven, you will start all over ad infinitum, and they got you. You will pray to them, you will look up to them as gods, as they want, and you will continue as long as you want to stay in the illusion. If you want to have power back, you don't want to aim for Aldebaran, heaven, the light. No, you want to aim for Sirius. And Sirius is, of course, another fixed star. And Sirius is the dog star. So you follow the dog. That's the reason why in Rider White deck you see the Fool card, and you say, yeah, the Fool has a dog as his company. So, if you choose this method and this path, you can also start a bloodline, a sangreal here on Earth, because your aim is to come back with memory and continue your work. You take one step in this lifetime, you take 2 more in the next lifetime, and suddenly you start to go somewhere. You follow the tree of death, Cliffotic tree, and people think it's darkness, and it is darkness. The tree of death, the Cliffotic tree, is about your unconscious, your darkness, the thing you don't want to know about yourself, but it is there nonetheless. If you refuse to work with the Cliffotic tree, you will project your darkness towards other people. You cannot overcome this program if you're passive. It's there, doesn't matter if you don't understand it, and animate your behavior. When we go into the Cliffotic tree, we want to lift up this programming so we can see the programming that animates you. Whatever, it doesn't matter if you want it or not, it's program you, your behavior. You want to bring it up, see it, and then transform it. But if you want to do that, you have to be willing to go into the darkness. So this is the 2 paths. End reincarnation. You go back to source. You will not come back. You become one with energy, light, the God, the Creator. So you hope. People hope that's the truth. I'm here to tell you that it is a trap. But I will come to that. The other path is to come back with power and to overthrow, and one goal is to overthrow the Elohim, the so-called gods, the gods that control the human race as it is right now. So, what is this war in our mythology? I think you all know the war in the Greek mythology between the Titans and the Olympian gods. And in part 2, the ancestral dead, I will talk about that war. And of course in the Bible they call that war the war in heaven. This is the war in heaven. What does it mean? It means it was a war that was fought not only in here on Earth, but also on other planets and in heaven. Meaning technology, meaning giant war in scope, of course. Now we'll read you some passages in the Bible, just to refer to this war so we know what we're talking about. Revelation 12:7, 12:8. Then there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought the dragon. The dragon and his angels fought back, but they did not prevail, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. Therefore, rejoice, you heavens, and who dwell in them. You exalted yourself because of your beauty, and corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I will cast you down to the earth in the sight of kings, and I will make a spectacle of you. I will turn you into dust on the earth in the sight of all who see you. Everyone among the people who knows you will be appalled because of you. You will become a terror. From that time on, you will be nothing. How you are fallen from heaven, O shining star, son of the morning. You are being thrown down to the earth. For you said to yourself, I will ascend to heaven and set my throne above God's star. It's not God's star. It's the Elohim stars. Because they have taken over certain key positions in heaven and put together a grid to control you. So this is a force who want to overcome that machine. I will reside on the mountain of the gods far away in the north. I will climb to the highest heaven and be like the Most High. Instead, you will be brought down to the place of the dead, down to its lowest depth. So, as you can see, a lot of propaganda is going on, and it's very hard to sort out what is what here. Who is talking about who is winning, who is losing. But for me, it's very obvious because of my communication with the Watchers, yes, the gods, and that ability. You can also have that ability. That's a method. So I have gotten and received from their perspective and their point of view what happened in the end of Atlantis. From their perspective and their point of view, what happened is that our cousins, because we had cousins who were like us, looked like us, sounded like us, but they were more powerful. They knew soul travel, they got all these gifts for free. Telepathy, manipulating matter, all of that they got for free. They didn't have to use any method, they didn't have to go to the gym, they just was born with it. But that was a problem, because if you're born with certain powers, you lack wisdom that you should have with that power. Our cousins choose to wage war against the gods and try to overthrow them, because they thought we can be mightier than the gods and we don't need them. They decided that they could control Mother Nature. They decided to use magic against humanity, meaning very black magic. And when I say black magic, I mean black magic. You will recognize what I'm saying today, because here we go again, right? We are here again. We are gone full circle. So I will just state it. Take it in if you can. But when I say black magic, I mean sacrificing of children, sex magic in combination with killing the victims, killing children, combination with sexual activity, sacrificing to different gods, cannibalism, eating children, eating other humans. Combine all of that, you get the picture. Now, Belial said to me and other practitioners, don't ever go there if you're not prepared for it, because you will see things you cannot imagine. And if your soul is not prepared to see it and face it, you will be torn apart. And that will be the end of you. But we had to put the cousins of yours down, because they have become a threat to us, a threat to Mother Earth, a threat to your planet and planets in our solar system. So they put them down. And that was a war going on in heaven. After they had put our cousins down, the demiurge, and I will come back to the demiurge later on, but it is a force. He saw the human race in a very weakened state. And whatever the Watcher's purpose to put the humanity down with our cousins in this way. But when the demiurge took his opportunity, he put the human race further down into matter. Because the demiurge said, we don't want this mass ever again. Let's keep this human as slaves. I don't want them to be able to rise up. I don't want them to have any connection to a so-called spark, a soul, or nothing. They will be servants forever. And I will keep them as pets and slaves. That's it. The Watchers saw that the demiurge was very close to create an android race out of humanity. He gave us the spark, and that is Prometheus, or Prometheus, was chained to the Caucasus mountain by Zeus, because Prometheus wanted to give the fire to humanity, the spark. What Zeus didn't know was that Prometheus, Lucifer, had already given us this spark. But more things was going on here. Zeus wanted to know what Prometheus knew, because Prometheus means foresight. Prometheus could see into the future and into the depth. And so Zeus wanted to know what Prometheus knew. Therefore he sent an eagle to take his liver every day Because in the liver is the soul, according to old Greek traditions and understanding. That's the reason why they do divination out of the liver, or did. But the spark was already sent to the human race, and that was to save humanity from slavery and servitude forever. If you wonder about the vaccine agenda, it's not a coincidence. It's only the truth is that we are here again. Same people, same agenda. The Watchers created a threshold, a void. What do we mean by that? They created a threshold, a void, in order for our cousins not to be able to go too far into the metaphysical. Because if they could do it again, that would be a threat again. They created this threshold. Here, but not further. But it also means that we are under this threshold. But we can overcome that threshold. You can overcome it with your heart, with your soul. But you see, our cousins, the elite, have lost their soul, their heart, and therefore they are stuck here forever. It means that for them, the only game that becomes interesting is here, with you in mind. So it's very important to try to understand the different titles, the different gods and so on. And I will do a little recap. The word Elyon, people believe it's a god, but it's not a god. It's the one above commander. It's a leader, it's a commander. Elyon means a leader, not like a god. Elohim, gods, so-called gods. Some examples: Enki, Enlil, Ninurta, Jehovah, Zeus, Marduk, Perseus, Athena are all Elohim, meaning our cousins, not gods. In Lord of the Rings, they are the elves. Shedim is a low-ranking Elohim, coming from the priest class, worshipping an Elohim. Among the Titans, the Watchers, you will probably recognize some of the names like Oceanus, Quaeus, Crius, Hyperion, Iapetus, Prometheus, Atlas, Helios, Kronos, Thea, Rhea, Themis, Mnemosyne, Phoebe, Thetis. Cherubim. He drew out the man, and at the east of the Garden of Eden he placed the cherubim and a flaming sword, which turned every way to guard the way of the tree of life. They were individuals who traveled on flying machine called Ruach, Kavod, Merkava, and Cherubim. Meaning that when God placed the cherubim on a star or a planet, it means that He placed a machine. K. Dick, the author, called this machine Balis. For you said to yourself, I will ascend to heaven and set my throne above God's stars. If the gods control the stars, you have to overcome them, not be a slave under them. If we trust these ancient authors and pretend that what they told us is real, we will discover a period in history of humanity when extraordinary things happen. I completely agree with that statement. The author Joseph P. Farrell talk about this place called Nata Playa in Africa, for example. And Napa Playa is considered to be 4,900 BC old. And we all know that it's garbage as always. Some believe 6,400 BC, but as you will see, it will be closer to 16,500 BC. The Egyptian religion was fixed upon the constellation of Orion and evolved a complex mythology of death and rebirth, fastened around the gods Osiris, Set, Isis and Horus. These other three stones are the diagram of the configuration of Orion's head and shoulders as they appeared on the meridian on summer solstice sunset on the centuries around 16,500 BC. And here you have it. And for everyone with eyes to see, they can see the constellation Orion appear in this stone circle. And that alignment come about 16,500 BC. Meaning that once again they fooled us, lied to us, manipulate us. Joseph P. Farrell, similarly, Enlil's number is 50, so these so-called gods have numbers attributed to themselves. And the god, so-called god Enlil, have number 50. That is to say, 50-60 ratio in the Mesopotamian scheme of ratios, and Marduk lay at 25. Both generated their own numerical tonal mountain, and Enlil was the radio operator from that mountain. For you said to yourself, I will ascend to heaven and set my throne above God's machine, is a more correct statement. And we have 15 Behenian fixed stars. Aldebaran is one of them. Ascended to heaven, Cherubim, the machine. And then you have the fixed stars Sirius and Algol. And this name that we read in the Bible, Noah, Enoch, Elijah, comes up all the time when we talk about this fixed stars in combination with them. And after the break, we will continue with part 3, the shadow division.